What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here, and this is a new series, training with Barbell Brynn. It's the road to the Youth Nationals. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to showcase some of my family's training, some of the things that I think that are really kind of critical in terms of training some youth athletes and potentially training your loved ones. A lot of times people will ask, I want to get my significant other into training. I want to get my kids into training. And I think that it's really important that we think about the long-term development of the athletes. So you can kind of see there that, we're making this not just about training, but also what's going to be, some long-term ramifications. What are the long-term benefits, the skills, the life lessons we learn, even from just, fueling your body, getting your protein in, getting some nutrients in, and just trying to make this a lot of, not just about the training, but just how you can improve your life, improve your health, not just on the platform, but in your everyday life. So a couple of things that we try to really highlight in training, especially for the youth, is just kind of keeping things simple, training with like a lower frequency. Brynn will usually train anywhere from, 1 to 2 times a week on average. And we just kind of make sure that she gets her main lifts in. Up until this point, she's done a lot of single lift meets. She's done some push-pull. She started off with deadlift only. Then she did some push-pull. She's done some strict curl. And this is going to be her first full meet. Actually, the last lift that we kind of elected to learn was the squat. I think the squat is the most challenging in terms of balance. It's the most challenging in terms of just proprioception and just kind of understanding where your body is in space. Again, I think the deadlift is the most simple. And the other thing, that consideration when you're training the youth, is just kind of making sure you have the right equipment. We have barbells that go as light as 25 pounds. And, Brynn is working her way up to, using the, adult, 20 kilo barbells. But on this particular day, she was squatting around 55 pounds, really trying to kind of work the setup. The other thing that you won't see on this day, but you'll see in future episodes, is, getting the girls to kind of work together. Helping with spotting, helping with loading, helping with cleanup. So not just about the training, but learning to work with others, learning to help each other, learning to be having attention to detail. And you can kind of see she's having some fun here. And trying to make the training process enjoyable, and really just kind of like learning to have exercise and training as part of a healthy lifestyle, as part of their routine. And I think that's going to be really important, regardless of what they lift, regardless of what they end up doing. Learning the skills of, the squat, the bench press, the deadlift, and just kind of training with a barbell in general can be a really helpful skill. Even whether you're a field athlete, in high school and middle school, fitness should always be kind of part of your routine, just for long-term health, regardless if you're going to be competitive or not. So if they can kind of learn these skills early on, they're going to be way ahead of the game, so learning healthy eating habits, learning how to fuel your body, learning how to move your body through space, getting that loading. So when they do hit puberty and they are kind of, and the hormones are active, they're going to be able to build some kind of lean tissue. They're going to build some more bone density and get all the benefits of resistance training. So you also kind of see here, in terms of the youth athletes, I don't, do things quite as complex or quite as fancy, so to speak. I do think there's a lot of benefit to the conjugate system. I do think there's a lot of benefit to, adding things like chains and bands. But I think when it comes to like the main competition movements, keeping things a little bit more simple and just having a little bit less variety for like kind of the meat and potatoes of the training, I think that is good. So a lot of times we'll just do the competition squat, the competition bench, the competition deadlift. Maybe we'll do some fun things here and there. Maybe we'll play some games here and there. But a lot of times we're just kind of doing multiple sets of submaximal reps so they can kind of just get good practice. So opting for more sets and less reps so they can get really comfortable with the motion. And then maybe we'll do like one, AMRAP set or one kind of plus set where they can kind of push themselves. So I do think there's some value in learning to push themselves, learning to, strain a little bit. But again, when it comes to skill development, just doing more sets of submaximal reps with, having some more reps in reserve, leaving some in the tank, lower RPE training, I think is going to be important for that skill development. So one other thing that I think is going to be important, when it comes to benching with, shorter athletes, smaller athletes, having some blocks available, making sure that the rack height's appropriate, making sure there's a lot of safety on the on-rack, because sometimes, taking the bar out yourself can be an issue. And while Brynn is super flexible, and I think that she could definitely get a better arch, just making sure that she understands the positions and not doing anything too extreme. So in the case of our bench press, in the case of our sumo deadlift, we're not trying to have any kind of crazy, and you can see even her, her bench grip is kind of, fairly kind of medium to close. Not doing anything too extreme in terms of her stance width, grip width, or arch at this point, because I want to just kind of develop good habits. And, when she does kind of hit puberty, lifting with a little bit more range of motion, lifting with a more moderate technique, I believe is going to be a little bit better on the joints long term, and also kind of potentially build some more strength and muscle mass with a slightly longer range of motion. Not that you want to do things intentionally, super long range of motion, but, potentially squatting a little bit deeper, potentially squatting with a slightly closer grip. And even with a sumo deadlift, I believe the sumo deadlift is just a more natural position for a lot of people to kind of pick things up off the ground. But just having a more moderate sumo deadlift stance, I think, could be super helpful. So, so Brynn, we happened to kind of find out that the USA Powerlifting Youth Nationals is in, kind of our backyard, kind of King of Prussia. So not too far. So she's going to do a qualifier. So we'll kind of highlight some of her training leading up to that meet, as well as kind of her results for the new Youth Nationals. And if you guys have any other questions on, but I do think there's a lot of insight on, just keeping things simple, whether you're starting out. So whether you're a youth athlete or you're just someone starting out and just getting into strength training for the first time, nothing wrong with training once or twice a week and just kind of prioritizing just a few lifts. Sometimes that minimalist training can be really effective because you can really hone in your focus. So a lot to be learned here. But we're really excited to kind of see what Brynn can do and kind of compete amongst other people in your age cohort. I think that's a really good thing to be, have some challenge and some competitiveness, but at the end of the day, just kind of doing the best that you can and striving for that personal growth. And I think there's, again, a lot of life lessons will be learned. So we're going to be showcasing some of Brynn's training. I appreciate you guys watching. If you want to support Brynn, please subscribe. Please give this page a follow. Please comment and share. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.